In this video, you will learn how to become an expert researcher as a college student at Central Penn College. Before we cover our major topics, I want to give you some good tips about how to conduct advanced research. The first tip I have for you is to be patient. Oftentimes, college students want to conduct a perfect search and bring up the exact right resources in their results. But often, research doesn't work like that, which brings me to my second point. Be flexible with your search strategies. Now, if you do these two things, you be patient and you be flexible with your search strategies, if you are able to be both of those things, then your research will be successful. So remain patient, try different things with your searching, try different keywords, try eliminating certain types of results, consider whether the publication date should be altered, that kind of thing. Try lots of different search strategies in many different resources. Next, simply explore. Allow yourself to go down the rabbit hole. If something catches your interest in one article, see if you can find more information about that topic in other articles. It's a really good practice to follow your passions and what you're interested in research, because if you're able to narrow your research question or topic to what you are most interested in, you will have a much better research experience. You'll be more positive about it and invested in it. So be willing to look through many different sources. Don't limit yourself to the top 5 or 10 results on your results page. Look through many. That can mean skimming the article titles, it can mean clicking on the title and viewing the abstract, and it can also mean actually skimming the article itself. But don't just be satisfied with your top results. Allow your research question or topic to evolve. Make sure that as you learn more information from your research, that you're allowing your research question to evolve. You might learn new information that points your research in another direction, and it's a good practice for you to be willing to do that. Finally, make note of any repeated terms or authors' names. These repeated terms, whether you know them or not, might allow you to find more sources if you start using those repeated terms. Also, if you're noticing that many authors are being mentioned in different types of sources, then it's really likely that those particular authors are influential in that field. So don't just ignore authors' names that are repeated many times. Investigate a little further, see why they are being cited all the time. The first resource we're going to look at is provided by our library, and it is called ProQuest Dissertations and Theses. So these are dissertations and theses that are written by doctoral candidates and master's students. Dissertations and theses have a couple qualities that make them different from regular journal articles that you might find in EBSCO and Gale or Google Scholar. The first is that they are often very specific. A dissertation or thesis is written by a student who must develop a very specific research question as part of receiving their degree. They develop a research question, it gets approved, and then they spend hundreds of hours researching to find an answer that would satisfy their research question. Which leads me to the next quality of a dissertation or thesis. They often are incredibly long, and that's because the research question developed by the student is often unique. It is not a research question you will find anywhere else on the planet. So they conduct in-depth research by conducting a literature review and sometimes conducting their own personal research as well and studying something. And then they write an incredibly long article about it. Many of the dissertations and theses found in our ProQuest database are between 50 and 150 pages. It's not uncommon to find a dissertation or thesis that's 120 pages long. But that brings me to my last point about dissertations and theses. is they are incredibly helpful sources if you look in their literature reviews section. Most dissertations and theses are set up with a very similar structure. They'll provide an introduction, they will talk about their research question, and then they will conduct a literature review. And this is where they have gone out, they have found all the published literature that deals in some part with the research question, and they say, here's what we already know based on previous research. And they cite all of their research, all their sources, and it's condensed into one section called the literature review. So using ProQuest dissertations and theses is really helpful if you need to find more sources, you haven't found the answer to your research question or enough information about your research topic because it is narrow and specific, then you want to find, has a doctoral candidate or master's student already asked this question, or have they done research around this topic enough where you could use their sources that they found and use their sources as your own as well. And that would mean that you would have to look in EBSCO and Gale for the sources that they mention in their literature review, or contact the library and we will get you a copy of their sources. To access ProQuest dissertations and theses, first log into Blackboard, then select the Library tab in the top menu. All of the library's online resources are located under Find Journals/Other Online Resources. This is the complete list of everything the library subscribes to, and they're organized alphabetically, so ProQuest Dissertations and Theses is here near the bottom. And I'm going to click here to access the database. Once you get to the home page, you should know that ProQuest is trying to search through two different databases. One of them is our Dissertations and Theses database, but the other one is our ebooks. So if you are not interested in finding an ebook about your topic, then what you should do is come up here to Databases, where it shows me that I'm currently searching to, and then unselect eBrary ebooks. And then I leave ProQuest Dissertations and Theses Global selected, and I say Use Selected Databases. So now I am only searching for dissertations and theses. Now on the home page here, we've got some options. I can either just conduct a search with a couple of words, and that's fine. I will run a search for that right now. But before I type in any search terms, we have a full text option. I'm going to select it. That way, anything that appears in my results list, I can read immediately. The other option here is doctoral dissertations only. So if I want to limit my search to dissertations written by doctoral candidates only and not theses written by master's students, then I could select this. I'm going to type some terms into my search bar here. Now let's say that my research topic is investigating the impact that academic libraries have on the retention of minority students. Now there are three elements to that question. The first is academic libraries, the second is retention, and the third is minority students. So I'm going to put in a few of these. Academic libraries, retention, minority students, and conduct my search, and we'll see if anything results. Here are my results. I've got 69,000 results that might be related to these. The default is to sort by relevance, so the most relevant articles will appear at the top of the list. Now this is way too many results for me to look through, so I could narrow this down using the options over here on the left. If I don't want to read something from the early 1900s, then I can enter a date range. I can simply click and drag this, and I'm going to look at articles published after 2010 and click Update. So that got rid of most of my results. Now I have 22,000 left. And you could get more specific here if you would like as well. But you can also use these other menu items in the menu here on the left to limit your search even further. So if you're noticing that a lot of these articles are not in English for some reason, then you could click on language and select English. And that way I will only have English articles in my results. And then you could use these other ones as well. I could look at subjects, and I could see which articles have higher education as a subject term attached. So those are some different ways you can narrow down your results and make the initial number smaller. Now let me show you an advanced search. So if I'm on the home screen, which looks like this, and let me unselect eBrary again, you can click on Advanced Search to go to the advanced search as well. So I have full text checked, which I'm going to leave. And what's nice about using the advanced search is you can break up your search into those major topics of your research question. So my first one is academic libraries. My next one is retention, and then I'm going to add a row by clicking add a row, and then here type in minority students. Now you'll notice here that I have an asterisk next to library, and what that means is ProQuest will search for alternate endings of this search term, library. So it will search for the search term academic library, libraries, and librarian. Any articles with any of those terms will appear in my results. And I could narrow down my publication date right here. Let me put in last 2 years. And then you could also incorporate more information here as well if you want. I'm going to select doctoral dissertations only and English and run my search. So when I did my initial search using the basic search a few minutes ago, I got 60,000 some results. This very first time I start with less than 4,000. Now let me click on one of these articles and show you how you can best use ProQuest dissertations and theses. Now you always have the option here to download this as a PDF, but I would not do that until you are sure that you want to use this article. And the reason for that is this one is 177 pages long, and I'm not sure if I even want to use it yet. So I would recommend that you give it a preview, and if it looks promising, then go ahead and download it. Now you have some options in the menu right here. It automatically defaults to giving you the full text PDF, but I would highly recommend that you look at the abstract and details of this. So when I click on abstract, I can actually read the abstract, which can give me an idea, do I actually want to investigate this article further? An abstract is just a paragraph or two about what the article is about, and it will often include the results or the conclusion that the author came to as well. You also should notice the References tab here, which is a list of all the sources that the author used when he or she wrote this article. So there are 163 citations here. Now let's say I have read the abstract and it sounds promising. I'm ready to investigate further, but I'm not entirely sure if I'm ready to dedicate myself to 177 pages of reading, and that's fine. What I would recommend that you do is come to the full text PDF, and then you should begin with the introduction. So often these will come with a table of contents, which is nice. And then the table of contents is actually hyperlinked, so I could click right on introduction and it will take me straight to the introduction. So if you're not sure if you want to read this article, start with the introduction. You can look at the background, look at the problem statement and the purpose, that kind of thing. But really the best use of these dissertations and theses are going to be the literature review. If this article is looking at a lot of the same topics that I am for my research topic, if it's looking at retention, if it's looking at minority students, if it's looking at academic libraries, any of those things, then I want to come down here to the literature review and look at what sources they used. So I'm going to click on literature review, and you can see that that jumped to Chapter 2 literature review. And then here I would start reading, and so I can see here they give a quick summary of a research study, and then they have an in-text citation right here. Now, if this is something that I want to look more into, then I would find this in-text citation, I would find its matching full citation in the references. So this one is the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights, 2010. I'm going to scroll to the top here and click on References. And then I could sort either most recent first or the author name. And so I'm going to sort by the author name, and I know that the author is U.S. Commission, so it's going to be toward the bottom. Let me skip to page 8. That's just a guess of where it will be. And here it is, United States Commission on Civil Rights from 2010, and that is the correct year. And so then I would see, am I able to access this website? Is this PDF still available? Now, if they are citing a journal article, such as right here, then you could check in EBSCO or Gale and see if we have access to this article. And if we don't, then you could contact the library by coming back to Blackboard and then clicking Welcome in the Library tab, and then calling us or emailing us or even texting us or using the chat widget to let us know who you are and what article you want. And we will do our best to get it to you very quickly. Let me come back to my full text PDF here. Now let's say that I have been reading this article and I decide that I actually want to quote it or paraphrase it or reference it in some type of way. ProQuest has made it really easy to just click the Cite button in the top right corner, and that will give me the citation. Make sure that it's set to APA 6th edition. That should be the default, but it's always good to double check. And then you can copy and paste this to your references page. It's always good to double check to make sure that the citation is correct. You could also print this article, but again, it's 177 pages. So unless you must read a print copy, definitely think about how many pages you're printing. And you can also email it to yourself or download the PDF right here. Let me show you one more search in ProQuest. In my first line, I'm going to put retention. And I need to think to myself, are there any synonyms for retention that I think might be used in an article? And there might be. So I'm actually going to change this from retention or retain. Now notice that I wrote or in all caps. So what's going to happen here is ProQuest is going to search for any article that contains at least one of these, retention or retain or retains or retaining or retained. We have our alternate endings asterisk here. So as long as one of those words is in the article or retention, then the article will come up in our results. Now let me add something else. So I'm doing something similar here. Academic library with alternate endings or college library with alternate endings. They mean the same thing, but an article might refer only to academic libraries versus college libraries, even though it is the same thing. Now I'm actually going to change this anywhere to subject heading SU. And what that means is ProQuest is going to search for academic library or college library or any of those possible alternate endings in the subject field, which means that either academic library or college library must be a major topic addressed in the article. It must be, or it won't appear in our results. And I'm going to add one more row. And I'm adding the third element here of my search, which is minority students. So here, I am making sure to include minority or minorities, or diverse or diversity. And then I could run this search. Let me limit it to full text only. Run my search. 233 results, and let me change my publication dates. 200 results. So already I'm starting with far fewer results, but they're all going to be much more relevant than those 60,000 that I initially found when I ran my very first search. Finally, I also want to show you that right now we are in the detailed view. You could choose brief view if you want and just see the titles and a little bit of the information here. And then you could click on preview to see the abstract. So that is available to you. The next resource I want to talk about is Google Scholar. Now, Google Scholar is freely available to everyone. It's not a library database. As long as you have an internet connection, you can access it. But not all articles found in Google Scholar are free. Now, if that's the case, you find an article, it sounds really promising, but it's not free, it's asking you to pay, then you should contact the library and we will get you a free copy as quickly as we can. So don't pay for anything. You could also check in EBSCO and Gale if you find something in Google Scholar to see if it's in one of those databases, or you could just ask a librarian and we'll let you know. Google Scholar also has its own inbuilt library. As long as you have a Google account, you can save different articles to your library and it will just keep a copy there for you where you can easily access it. But you do have to have a Google account for that to work. Now, this last tip isn't just for Google Scholar, it's for Google in general, but you also are able to search for government websites only with a simple Google search. So if you're looking for government information, government documents, official wording from our US or state government, then there's an easy way to do that in Google, and I will show you that as well. You can access Google Scholar simply by typing in Google Scholar, and it will be the very first result. It's also scholar.google.com if you want to go straight to the web address. Now this looks pretty similar to a simple Google search, but you actually do have the option of conducting an advanced search, and you do that by clicking on this arrow in the search bar to get to the advanced search. So now here I could search for all of these certain search terms that I would put in the box. If you're looking for an exact phrase, you could type it there, and Google will search for your search terms in quotation marks. So if that's something you like to do in Google, you search for terms within quotation marks, then this is the exact same type of search. With at least one of the words is like using the OR operator in ProQuest. As long as one of the words is in an article, it will come up. It may not have the other terms in this box though. So let me begin my search. Retention, library. I definitely want both of those in any results that I get. And then in this box here, let me put in college, academic, research. And let me add in some publication dates. Let me go with 2010 to 2017 and run my search. So I've got about 370,000 results here, which is a ton. Now, how do you know if you have free access to these articles? It's actually really easy to tell. If there is a link over here on the right, and usually it's a PDF, but not always, but usually, then that means if you click on this, it should give you direct free access to that item. So here's that very first result where I clicked on the PDF. It took me straight to the PDF right here. Now, if you're looking through your results and you see the title of an article, but there's no blue link here to the document, then that means you don't have access to it. You can still click on it and see who published it and who wrote it, that kind of thing. But it will ask you to pay to read the article. Now, if that happens, just contact the library using the welcome page in the library tab in Blackboard, and we will do our best to get a copy of it to you as quickly as possible. Now, each article also has this row beneath the quick preview of the article showing your search terms in bold. And the very first thing it tells you is how many other people have cited this article that Google knows of. So there are 100 other articles that cite this article. Now, if I'm comparing that to this article, which is 10, or even this one, which is 86, or this one, which is 40, this one is cited by 100, so it has the most citations. Now, usually that's an indicator that other people are using it, so it might be important. It doesn't always guarantee that this is an incredibly important article, but it is a good indicator that it very well likely could be a very important article. If I love this article and I want to see if there are any others that are like it that maybe I have free access to, I could click on related articles and see what are other similar articles that Google thinks is similar. And then do you have access to them over here on the right? And there are 2 here at the very top that I have access to immediately. The versions are, did another journal publish this article? Was it reprinted? Was it updated? So there might be different versions of this article. There's also a cite button. So if I use an article, it's probably going to be one that I can freely access. Let's say I decide to use this article here. I can click on Cite and make sure you get the APA citation. So you can select it and copy it and then paste it into your references. But you should always check to make sure that it is correct and not trust any citation that has been generated for you. Always double check. And then finally, we have the Save button here. So maybe I want to start saving results and look through them later. I can click on Save, and it will save it to my folder. Now, you do have to be logged in for this to work. I am logged in. If you're not logged in, it will come up with a pop-up saying you need to sign up for a Google account. I'm going to save that one, and I've already saved that top one there. I'll save that, And now if I want to see all those articles that I've saved, scroll to the top and there is an arrow here. I can click on that and click on My Library. And now here I see all those articles that I had saved. Now you can also create labels within your folder. If you're doing a lot of research for different classes, that kind of thing, then I recommend that you start using labels. And here you can see that I have created some labels: libraries and minority students, retention and libraries, retention and minority students. So if I click on retention and minority students, I see the 3 articles here that I have labeled with that term, retention and minority students. And you can easily create your labels and manage them by clicking Manage Labels. Now, I promised that I would show you how to search for government websites only. Let me put in a couple search terms into regular Google, not necessarily Google Scholar. I'm going to put in retention, minority students, library, and here's how you do it. SITE:/gov. So what is going to happen is Google is going to search only websites that end with .gov in the domain name. So let me click Enter. And now you will see that all of my results here have .gov in the address. So if you need a government website for something, I highly recommend using cite:/gov. Make sure you have no spaces in there. You could also search for a particular website by doing cite:/, and then the website. So in this case, I'm doing census.gov. And so now I'm seeing results only from the website census.gov. I have 62 results. The last tool I want to talk to you about is Citation Managers. Now, if you've never heard of a citation manager before, it's a tool that you can use to keep track and organize your sources. Most of them are available online. A lot of them also offer a desktop version, but usually you have to pay for that. There are several free online citation managers that would work really well for college level research, and I'll make sure to tell you what those are. The two that I'm going to show you both have web extensions that you can install in Chrome or Firefox, and then when you visit a website and you click on that web extension, it will collect the bibliographic data about that website. So it will look for, does this website know who wrote it, the author? Does it know the title? Does it know the date? And what's really nice is the Citation Manager will collect all that data and be able to give you a citation using it. Now you should always double check that the data is correct, because it's extracting data from the website itself that someone else put in when they were creating the website. And so you will want to make sure to look to see if anything has changed and that it's correct. But it's a really helpful web extension. So once you have input your sources, you can organize your sources into different folders, and then you can actually generate a bibliography. You will have collected all the information about those sources, who wrote it, what was published in, when was it published, and you can easily create a references list. So the two that I am going to recommend to you are EndNote Web and Mendeley. They both have free online versions, they're easy to use, and they will generate those bibliographies for you. They also both have that web extension that you can install for free in Google Chrome or Firefox. Let me show you EndNote first. So it's found at myendnoteweb.com. Now you can see over here on the left under my references, I have different groups here. So these are different resources that I have collected into folders or groups, so they are organized. And why you want to actually group them up is so that you can have different classes separated, different projects separated, and then you can generate a bibliography for just one of those groups. So let me click on the PSSA group. So here is my PSSA group. It's the different sources that I was collecting for a topic of PSSAs. And so I can see a quick preview here about, for this source, who wrote it, when was it published, what's it called. And now for a website, you can also connect to the link. So here I could click on Go to URL and it will actually open up the web page for me. So I connected this one to one of our Gale articles. And how I did that was I clicked on this bookmark button and used this URL here. I did not use the URL in the web address bar up here because this one would not work. If you want to collect a link from one of the library's online resources, you need to use the bookmark button if you're in Gale. If you're in EBSCO, it's called permalink, and it's near where you would find the citation button in EBSCO. Now, if you've downloaded a PDF of some sort, you could also attach the PDF as well and then click on just the PDF and go straight to the PDF. To edit any of these, you simply click on the title of it and it will open up the record and you can add in any information that might be missing, such as place published, volume, and the more information you can give EndNote, the better citation it will give you, the higher quality citation it will generate for you. I'm not going to show you all of how this tool works, but you can easily collect from an online search. You can add in a new reference for a new source. You can import references if that's an option. Some websites and even some databases allow you to export an article, and then you can import it into EndNote. You can also collect from here. You can organize your groups. You can generate your bibliography. And then under downloads, this is where you can get the plugin. So the plugin is right here. It's called Capture Reference. If you download this and you install it into Chrome or Firefox, then it will be able to extract the website data and hopefully give you a pretty decent citation. Now, EndNote is also compatible with Microsoft Word. So if you want to install it into Microsoft Word and have your EndNote account talk to your paper as you're writing it, which is something that I would recommend you look into, then you can install it for free here, and then you can use it with Microsoft Word as you're writing your paper. Let's take a look at Mendeley now, which you should be able to find mendeley.com. Once you sign up for your account or you log in, you should get this pop-up asking you if you want to install the web plugin that extracts the website data and be able to generate it into a citation for you. So that should come up right away. Now you can see that the interface looks different here. I've got all my sources right here, but I can also create folders over here and then begin putting my sources into certain folders. So that's an option for you as well. A nice feature that Mendeley offers you is when you select one of your sources, you can see in the preview pane over here the information about it. If it's connected to a website, you can add the website. You can also upload the PDF if it's in that format. But you can also write some notes about it. So I could write in here, use paragraph 5 in my introduction. And then this will just help you keep track and format your paper the way you want it to be formatted, and it will have all your notes in one place in Mendeley. Finally, if you are actually attaching a PDF to the record, you can actually take notes directly on the PDF. So I'm going to click on my PDF here, and then you can see that I have actually highlighted this article. So you can add in some text, you can highlight the PDF itself, and Mendeley will keep track of that for you. If you have questions about how to become an expert researcher at Central Penn College, contact the library.